Ladies
and gentlemen, let me welcome you all. I am Archil Bukia, Director of EAS. I want to thank you all for finding time and attending our sectoral briefing, which relates to the Demo and Learning Center of Orators. Sandro, I give floor to you for introduction for the Netiquette, and then we'll continue.
Hello, my name is Sandro Dadiani. I will be the moderator of the meeting. And before we start the meeting, I will like to read out the netiquette instructions. First of all, please submit your questions using the chat function addressed to all participants at the bottom of your screen, or raise your hand and our panelists will try to answer as many questions as possible. Please virtually lower your hand in case you no longer have questions or don't want to comment. We are pleased to announce that the meeting will be interpreted in 2 languages. However, due to Zoom technical restrictions, the language channels will have the following allocations: English, and Georgian French. What this means is that if you want to listen to the meeting in English, you have to select an English channel. But if you want to listen to the meeting in Georgian, you will have to select the French channel. Please speak slowly and clearly during the Q&A session for the translation purposes. Thank you for your understanding. We hope you find the industry briefing informative, engaging, and insightful. Also, this Zoom session will be recorded and shared via the EAS UI website. For technical support, please use the Zoom chat function or call WhatsApp the number given on the screen. Thank you. And I will give the word to Mr. Archil Bukia.
Thank you, Sandro. Let's start. As we planned the meeting, we'll give you a short presentation about the project. Of course, we'll talk about the demo and learning center. As the moderator has mentioned, after the presentation, we'll have a Q&A session. But during the presentation, you may feel free to send a question or raise a hand, and we'll give you a floor. But the Q&A will be after the presentations. Next slide, please. Today, we should have been attended by Gil Hanishvili, Chairman of the Board and First Deputy Minister of Agriculture and Environment of Georgia, but he had a conflicting meeting at this very time, and he asked me to join us later. All the rest present is on the screen, ministry officials, as well as our founders. We have Agency of Agriculture Development as a main or driving segment or agency within this project implementation. We also have foreign and Georgian experts, Dutch-Georgian consortium officials that are delivering consultations to us during the implementation of the project. These are Geo Holding and Cosbuild Holding. This is a joint venture, which is a consultancy firm. Next slide, please. Now we see on the screen, well, I guess you all saw it on our website. It is very informative about what is the EAS, what is the structural subordination with the Minister of Environmental Protection and Agriculture. I need to say that EAS was designed to develop the cluster of the greenhouses. That happened in early 2000s, but we started presentation last autumn. Almost a year was required to get to this stage as we have today. Now, the authorities of Georgia have given to us 220 hectares of land. I'll elaborate on that later. And that's where we will be implementing the project. Apart from being the implementing agency uh, of this project, EAS will operate as a service delivery company, not only for within the Emirati, within these business subjects that we will be witnessing, but we will also render services to potential or active beneficiaries and investors and operating companies. This will be natural gas and power energy supply. Well, you may well be aware that the government commits to develop the key infrastructure around these land plots and land parcels. This will be natural gas supply, the power supply, optic fiber, irrigation and drainage systems, sewage system. In the region, it's non-existent. At present, it needs to be built from scratch with the filters, facilities. Everything we'll do will be of the state-of-the-art level, and operation will be equally high level. I need to say that apart from these services, EAS will deliver such services as certification, as export and import documentation, clearance, as waste management, all that and many others will be rendered uh, by the partner the organizations of EAS and will have a full package of services that will be required within this segment. Next slide, please. I touched upon this as well, so we can jump over and go to this next slide. Now, I need to stress again that government believes it is a very high priority to implement this project, and for that very reason, a steering committee has been established. As I mentioned, it's chaired by Gela Hanishvili, the first Deputy Minister of Environmental Protection and Agriculture of Georgia. Also members are Georgi Kakarite is a Deputy Minister of Finance, Ziad Yogobiani, who is Deputy Minister of Regional Development and Infrastructure, also Akaki Sarirashvili, who is Deputy Minister of Justice, Datit Falabeshvili, who is Deputy Minister of Economy, Mihail Hiduri, who is a CEO of Producing Georgia, Otar Shamugia, who is Deputy Minister of the Environmental Protection and Agriculture in charge of financial aspects. We also have management of agriculture agency and our company representatives, the consultancy firm representatives. This once again evidences high degree of engagement from the government and key importance assigned to our projects. And every decision that we take and voiced at different stages of the project, it has been cleared, has been agreed with the steering committee, and we benefit of their support and the authorities granted by them to us. So this is once again to evidence that government is keenly interested and very supportive of our project. Next slide, please. We did talk about the project, saying that it's applicable to the cluster of greenhouses in Emirati region of Georgia. You see the map on the screen now, which has years in the pipeline, and it's 11 villages around us that historically have had greenhouse infrastructure dating back to Soviet times. The local residents were engaged in greenhouse production, and they have this in memory. And this has been developed further, and rural population, like 27,000 people, they are engaged in agriculture of various technologies and sizes of land parcels, and they produce different products. These are mainly greens, and overall in the country, 70%, 70, is produced in Emirati of greens, and 19,000 tons of different vegetables, which is produced here. I'm delighted that some of you are present in this meeting here. And last year, in 2020, Ministry of Environmental Protection and Agriculture of Georgia and Food and Agriculture Organization of UN, as well as UNDP, United Nations Development Program, as well as the International Organization of Migration, have established and signed an agreement on raising the competitiveness. And this agreement has the commitment of all these supporting partners of these organizations to develop this cluster production. And these clusters should be established and will be supported by these organizations, UNIDO as well, one of the largest system organizations of the UN. They had a research carried out and commissioned, and they have identified potential clusters of greenhouses. They never existed in Georgia. And out of these 50, 20 have been recognized as of high prospects. Within this study, they indicated Saltubo greenhouse cluster as having potential for development. They were on the 17th place in the list of 20. Then we passed several stages of development. That was last autumn. We approached UNIDO and said, this particular cluster ranked as the 17th did not get captured or shortlisted in the top 8. These clusters are being developed, and ministry requested UNIDO to consider the significance of this project, because we would accelerate the cluster development, and organization would be more structured. And UNIDO started to inquire about this greenhouse to be recognized as a cluster. Why I'm saying all that? Our project, within our project, it will be possible until these 220,000 hectares are developed, all the existing ones to be considered and recognized as clusters. Emirati in agrozone is considered as a development the platform and a service developer for these clusters. I believe that all these business owners that you see on the map in these villages will be members of these clusters, future clusters. Next slide, please. Now, this is a slide about the training and demo center of horticulture. Marius Park is now given floor to elaborate further on this center. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Archie, and good afternoon to everybody. Thank you for joining this session. During our consultations with farmers and other stakeholders in the IAZ area, we came quickly to the conclusion that there is clearly a necessity for additional information in order to transform low and medium tech, let's say, technology in greenhouse growing to high tech, which is foreseen to be taking place amongst other things in this zone. So we've needed a platform or an institution or a possibility to transfer this knowledge. In first instance, it is the idea that not only farmers from the surrounding villages will attend trainings in this center, but also training of trainers, extensionists, which we can consider either from government ministries, NGOs, cooperatives, but also private companies like, for instance, seed companies, fertilizer companies, and companies that sell agrochemicals. We found that there is a real necessity for more information on modern varieties, new crops, etc. I will elaborate a little bit on that further. Now, besides the agronomical aspects or horticulture aspects of how to grow crops or what crops are there, there are also several other subjects we think are needed to be incorporated into modern agriculture. One is sustainable growth technology. We all know that there is a increased awareness among consumers about the use of pesticides or crop protection materials that are unfriendly for the environment and unfriendly for the people that consume the vegetables and fruits. But also enterprise management, labor management. How do I have a simple administration? How do I apply for a credit? Microcredits, all these aspects which are integrated nowadays with the life and the well-being of the farmers should be taken care of, not only the technical. Another part is, of course, food safety, which becomes more and more important. Now, the first thing, of course, that you will think of is how do you manage to finance and to keep afloat, how to keep alive a training center like this? Well, we foresee there are several sources of income. That could be donations of companies that would like to show their varieties, their crops, their technology, their equipment. Also, we are thinking that it is necessary to charge for course fees. Too often, courses that are for free are considered of a lower quality. So if you ask people for a certain contribution, it is considered as more valuable. Further on, of course, the center will produce certain crops, and there will be proceeds from those crops. And we hope, especially in the beginning phase, that there will be some companies or financial institutions or donor institutions that will give some grants in order to start up. Our calculations show that it is possible within 3 or 4 years that the center will be self-sufficient and will not be needing any grants for, say, its survival. Then, in short, I will describe here, as I said, the stakeholders, as I said, farmers in the surroundings, input providers, and that can be from chemicals, but also to equipment, training providers, like, for instance, NGOs, as I said, development agencies, and IFIs, international financing institutions, technical assistance. A little bit further, we will go into more details, but I would like to hand over to my colleague, Karel, who will go into the technical details of the center, what it will be included and what can be demonstrated. Karel, over to you.
Thank you, Marius. Well, the Horticulture Training Center is, of course, one of the most important things that will be located on the Skaltuve territory. The demonstration center is really reflecting all the aspects that will occur in agriculture processes. That means that all industry will depend on it. There is a lot of practical things coming up. There will be trainings, and as stated before, it is about clustering of the greenhouses. And clustering of the greenhouses means that there will that farmers have to unite to each other and will learn to each other. Farmers around 900 independent entities, and if you could unite production, and if you can train the farmers to get to a higher homogeneous product, it means also that you can get a stronger market position. And the stronger market position could be achieved by uniting and creating to deliver batches of vegetables. And for, let's say, supermarkets, it can be very interesting that you only deal with, let's say, one logistic partner on the EAS that will deliver everything to you. So the supermarket will have one partner, and the EAS, the logistics center, where the farmers also are united, they will deliver batches of products with all the same quality and standing the same standards that are required for the modern market. If we see the Skaltubo land plot, there are all the technical production has been reflected in it. In the left corner, you see the organic zone, and the market for organic products is growing. Then we have in the greenhouses, we have low-tech greenhouses, we have middle-tech greenhouses and high-tech greenhouses. And well, to the low-tech greenhouses, we consider like foil tunnels. If we go to mid-tech greenhouses, this can be glass houses, can be foil houses. But if you go to the high-tech greenhouses, then we are talking about completely independent from any climate, weather circumstances. So they will always produce. Everything is reflected on this Skaltubo land, and that will also be reflected in the HTDC. The HTDC will also reflect all kind of production facilities. Can we move on to the next slide, please? As you see, we made a preliminary layout for the HTDC, and you see that we will have open field production. You see that we will have some greenhouse production. We will have production in a tunnel, but also the HTDC needs to give courses, as Marius already stated. We need income for the HTDC as well. So there will be a small classroom, there will be a sanitary room. The HTDC will produce products, and those products, of course, we have to store them. So what I said before, the HTDC will reflect all aspects of the agriculture process, and also very important, the HTDC will play important role to cluster the greenhouse production and to unite the farmers, bring knowledge to higher levels in the production. So that will be one of the most critical things for the HTDC to achieve in the future. Thank you. Next slide. We have some sizes at this picture as well. Please notice it is just a preliminary layout, how it could look like. Right now, we as consultants are looking forward to talk to companies and see how much investment can be done, see how many grants are going to be given, and grants to be given from companies, from suppliers, grants to be given from that we can receive from embassies, from countries. So we will look up for all possibilities that we can get, and especially for today, of course, we are also looking for companies that want to present their product in this HTDC. And as stated already, there are 900 entities that are really interested in your products for today. I'm handing now the word back to my colleague, Marius Bakker.
On the next slide, please. Yeah, we try to approach the necessity of the training and demo center from two perspectives. One is the farmers, and one is the agri-input suppliers. Now, what do we consider, or what do we think is necessary to give to the farmers? First of all, as mentioned before, agricultural information, creation of awareness about new crops. Nowadays, there is a shift in consumer pattern and consumer uses of new fruits, new vegetables, and too little is known yet about these crops. Also, the existence of new varieties very often is unknown. Nowadays, we have varieties of, for instance, tomatoes that are resistant against different diseases, different insect attacks, and therefore can be grown with lower input for fertilizer and or crop protection materials. Also, there are many new growing techniques and technologies. Everybody is still maybe used to growing cucumbers on the ground. Nowadays, growing cucumbers with light will give you productions up to 125 kilos per square meter per year. And those are, for instance, 1,250 tons per hectare of cucumbers. These are amounts that are achieved in neighboring countries and in modern products with light. So it is quite important that farmers will have access to these new technologies and use new crops and new varieties. We also think it is necessary that farmers become more and more aware of what the consumers are looking for in terms of food safety, hygiene during food production. Nowadays, none of the, let's say, large-scale supermarkets are buying produce that is not produced by farmers who at least have a HACCP certificate, which is the certificate on high hygiene protocol, how to handle products. Also, a major concern, as I mentioned before, of consumers is the existence of residues of pesticides. So safe working with pesticide, use of let's say low impact, low environmental impact pesticides is important. Nowadays, it's important also that you know how to spray. For that, you need a course on spraying, resulting in spraying license. Also, how to plan and organize your agriculture activities. This could be seen as an introduction to Global Gap. Besides HACCP, many supermarkets nowadays request product to come from farms or from producers that are Global Gap certified. Another issue is that a lot of machinery and equipment that has been purchased by farmers is not being treated properly. It is not repaired properly. It's not maintained properly in a preventive way. So we think also courses in that area could be of great help to improve the economic return of the farmers. And another aspect is the post-harvest. So what do you do with the crop once it is harvested? How do you treat it to reduce the post-harvest losses? I just would like to remind that worldwide 40%, so 40% of the food produced in the world is lost during the post-harvest. So you can say that once you harvest the product, it starts to rot, it starts to decay. So you should do as much as possible your best to avoid this loss of produce in the chain. It's also mentioned by Carl, it is important that the farmers can use the center as a platform to group their interests. That can be done by farmers associations or farmers group representing interests of all the farmers. Very often also farmers have solutions to problems and they are not sharing them with others. It is a known fact that together you will be stronger than standing alone. when your neighbor farmer has a disease in his tomatoes, you should not be happy because you probably sell your tomatoes more expensive. You should be worried that it can attack your farm as well. Also, the center can be used to train farmers groups on how to apply for small-scale loans, microfinance. Just to give you an idea, one of the largest banks in Holland is the Rabobank, which stands for Raiffeisen Farmers Bank. It started about 100 years ago on the kitchen table with 4 farmers pooling their money to buy a new horse. And from that, complete banks emerged. Another opportunity would be, for instance, the common use of equipment. If you have a small farm, maybe it's not worth to buy a rotavator to cultivate the land. But if you hire this or buy this one as a group, you can make common use of it. Next slide, please. As mentioned before, also there can be increased marketing power. And nowadays, a lot of the farmers are obliged to sell their produce at rather low prices to middlemen, simply because supermarkets or large-scale buyers do not want to deal with individuals. The training center could form, together with the packing house, sorting and grading center, an opportunity to pool the products and make sure that you can access also larger scale buyers. It's also possible to do the planning of the crops in choice. So not that everybody grows tomatoes, but that everybody grows a crop for which there is demand. Also the planning of the production. Not everybody starts growing the product at the same time, but for instance, in the high-tech greenhouses, you can grow during winter. In medium-tech greenhouses, you can grow during the spring.
Sorry to interrupt, Marius. Yes. Could you speak closer to the microphone?
Okay,
just
sorry.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. We're at the planning of the production of the individual crops, based on selling opportunities to, let's say, large-scale buyers. The farmers can coordinate themselves who will be growing what product during which time of the year. Also, together as a group, you can get your certificates for international marketing, but also for local marketing, for instance, your HACCP certificates, your Global Gap certificates. And then finally, but not last, the business and the financial planning. It becomes clear nowadays more and more that farmers are switching from sustainable farming or family farming to, let's say, more modern farming with the eyes for the economic returns of the crop. That means farmers will be taught that the business plan, how to develop, how to approach banks, how to discuss with them, how to keep simple books, how to do your accounting. And also, last but not least, what is your fiscal and other reporting requirements? Next slide, please. Now, the other side of the medal from the HTDC is, of course, the agri-input suppliers perspective. They would like to have a platform where they can demonstrate on a practical scale new crops or new varieties. Also, you can make comparison trials, putting up your new variety under optimum growing conditions and compare them with other competitive crops or competitive varieties. You can show new machinery and equipment, including hand tools. There are a lot of new things on the market which make life for the farmer a little bit easier and simply are not used by them because they are not known to them. And also the new crop protection products. Nowadays there are a lot of pesticides or agrochemicals which are much more friendly for the environment, much more friendly for, let's say, bees, and a lot of farmers don't know. Honestly speaking, I was amazed when I visited last time Georgia, and I found some suppliers of agrochemicals recommending a fungicide to get rid of an insect plague. These things should simply not be because the farmer buys a product that he doesn't need. He probably sprays it in a higher concentration because he thinks it doesn't work, so we add a little bit more. So these things can easily be avoided and therefore be more advantage both to the seller as well as to the farmer. As mentioned before, in order to come in touch with, let's say, large-scale buyers, your packing, your sorting and grading should improve, and especially the closed cold chain approach should be included. That means after harvest, try to get your product as soon as possible in cold storage in order to preserve the quality of saying. A lot of farmers don't know this. They just put it in the back of the tractor and go to the local market. So if the training center could create awareness on the importance of post-harvest, this could mean better quality of product and more product reaching the market and probably getting a better price. And finally, the center could have also a role in rental and lease purchase agreements of new machinery equipment. As I mentioned before, it is sometimes not feasible for one farmer to have 2,000 square meters or 1,000 square meters of equipment, but he could share it with his neighbors. But then it's always the issue, it is broken and who broke it. So if the property remains with the training center and the demo center, they could also take care of the maintenance and make sure that this will work out. So these are just a few examples of what we think the horticulture training and demo center could play an important role in. We think it is of extreme importance if you want to make the step from subsistence farmer to low, medium, and especially high-tech level horticulture and farming. And with these words, I like to give back the floor to Archil to go to the procedure of how to participate in the HTDC. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Carl and Marius, for very interesting interceptions. I want to continue our presentation and say that you may well be aware that we are at the call of interest stage, and this stage implies the following. For us to implement this project, we need the engagement of every stakeholder. It's very complex project. It's very comprehensive at the same time. A lot of aspects need to be arranged properly so that these enterprises get developed. These are the logistics center, the important aspect that we talked about, the HTDC. You need to know that our vision is as follows. Our experts have mentioned that HTDC, apart from having individuals keen to learn new things, which are labor force, the subject matter professionals for operation of warehouses or any other aspect, we will be training the professionals. And this implies two phases. One is theory, then classroom knowledge transfer, and on-the-spot training in the field on how to work in high-tech glass greenhouses. Our experts have mentioned that at HTDC, we'll have all the modules of greenhouse clusters that will have, this will be high-tech glass or nets greenhouses for berries and others. We are inviting, now how should we do it? What is the common practice throughout the world? We are inviting all the providers of technologies, various agriculture commodity producers that are known to have their products sold to not only, but to many thousand producers, future members of the cluster. We're inviting all these companies to support the training and demo center. How should it happen? If, for instance, one is interested in selling the glass greenhouses in different form, I mean, experts have elaborated on this. through a loan or leasing or a different source of funding that will have accessible at our ES. We are telling the producers, come and demonstrate your products and commodities. Install these products at our center, and we'll have on-jobs training for professionals that will need to have knowledge on this. This will enable them to make their products and the equipment available in terms of knowledge for the trainees. We are talking about heating, space heating, nets, lighting systems, all the elements of all the elements required for greenhouse production, which is so well developed in the West. And we don't have large companies that have exposure to Georgian market, and Georgian agriculture is not yet developed. So we don't have producers or manufacturers interested in the Georgian market. But our project gives this opportunity to them, to these international producers and manufacturers of chemical solutions or machinery or plant protection means, technologies, equipment, machinery. They are invited to participate in the HTDC, as this one will be a showroom for their commodities to be sold in future. And Georgian farmers will learn how to apply this knowledge, will learn how to use this machinery, equipment, etc. And this will increase the demand on these products. I'm talking about neighboring countries as well that will have keen knowledge, keen interest to acquire this knowledge. So whoever represents a producer or manufacturer, you now have a chance to gain direct exposure to the consumers in Georgia and decision makers on which commodities will be required in the country here. Next slide, please. Now, why do we have the stakeholders expressing their interest? As I told you, this the center will have engagement from all the stakeholders. These are the Ministry of Environmental Protection and Agriculture of Georgia. These are international partner organizations and donor agencies that support the knowledge transfer in general. And you may well be aware that we have lack of knowledge in this country, and everyone is keen to participate in boosting this knowledge or in transferring this knowledge. We also may have non-profit organizations like Farmers Registry or different and various associations of farmers. So this call for interest may result in a decision on the legal form of this HTDC, and its founders may be different stakeholders that I already mentioned, or I may not have mentioned, and they will get exposed to the creation or operation of or both of this center. So all the interested parties that are keen to develop this very important aspect at this particular point in time to express their interest, so that we accurately form this the center in legal and organizational form. As soon as we have it, it may be within the the regional kind of establishment or a separate legal entity. So it will be up to the founders on what the design will be given to this center. What our experts have mentioned, they already noted, is that this is a very preliminary idea. What technologies will be presented and demonstrated, all that will be decided after we have a decision on the structure and legal form of this. This is a list of stages to be passed. But I also confirm what the government believes, that EAS, everything done at EAS will be centered around HTDC. In summer, you may well be aware that at the end of April, we'll have proposals and suggestions from all the interested parties, and we'll start working on a detailed design and development and build up of the staff that will be training here. Next slide, please. This, I guess, you've seen it all. All the participants of this meeting have seen the slides before. This is our plan. Call for interest. And according to the bids that we'll receive, this center will be structured, and this consists of different aspects and stages, not only demo and training center, but the entire process is phased into two stages: the call for interest, which is a current stage, but this is not mandatory, this is voluntary. We are collecting suggestions of all the stakeholders so that the second stage, which will be more formal and public procurement legislation will be applied. This will be gathering and collection proposals and suggestions. That will happen in autumn this year. And during the call of interest, we will be establishing the terms and conditions that we'll need for a later stage. But prior to that, let me tell you that officially, if you have any question on this particular stage, call for interest, April 16th is the date until which you need to approach us. And proposals, let me repeat again what needs to be done for a submission. Next slide, please, Irakli. You've seen that in our documents, we have annexes for tenders that need to be submitted so that your interest is acknowledged in this process. You have Annex 2, all of you, and as a result, you participate in the sector briefing. Also, we sent out the data room, the information that will give you the window of opportunity until April 30th, 30, and within this time you may submit your interest. All the terms and conditions are flexible except for the scarce information that we require to be essentially submitted. Any additional information may be submitted, requirement, suggestion, advice, proposal, anything can be mailed to us and we'll read and consider them. Now, this one is an annex. I've said that there are 5 with a summary annex with the overall and summary information. Let me once again say that this needs to be mailed to the indicated address and by April the 30th, and your interest will be considered and examined. I won't repeat these details because these are very well presented on the announcement and in the text of the announcement. As for filling the spaces and cells in the annexes, please call us if you experience any problem or obstacle. Any bottleneck will help you fill in the cells. Can you go next slide again? Very briefly, let me tell you about the evaluation process. Now, call of interest is a tentative kind of title. There will be no scoring, no ranking, because it's non-compulsory. This call of interest is for potential investors, participants. This is more a study rather, but it's very important that you submit your requirements or where you see yourself within the development of the greenhouse clusters. Because after the evaluation, every participant will be recommended on what needs to be done by the next stage, by the date of submission, by the stage of submission, what was acceptable, what is not acceptable, etc. It needs to be considered because ultimately will not only have properly and accurately worded terms and conditions, and this will be based on the interests of the state and your requirements. You'll also get consultations for submission. Next slide again. Now, this is also indicated evaluation criteria. I told you there will be no scores, no ranking, but criteria that we will be applying to the submission will be based on this. It's essential or desirable that interested parties have relevant background and experience in the area they wish to specialize in terms of their investments. They may not be directly the experience, but they need to have a partner or should demonstrate to be willing to hire such partner, experienced partner. Experience and background matters a lot, and they need to show this and to demonstrate this. Also, they need to meet all the requirements that will be laid out by the state to create jobs for local residents, not only in general jobs to be created. Also, the project needs to be implemented quickly because we are keen to start production in greenhouses as soon as possible, so that it substitutes imports, it increases the export potential of the country and meets different demand in the country caused by deficit or any other at the various stages of the project. Next slide, please. Well, I guess that was all for today that we wanted to present to you. It took quite some time. I had the expectation that we would fit within a shorter period of time, but this is what I propose for the Q&A along the lines that the presenter, that the moderator announced at the beginning of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Archel. So I will read out the simple rules of the Q&A, and we can start the process. First of all, you can refer with your question and or comment in the Zoom chat. You can also refer with your question by virtually raising your hand. Also, please turn on the camera if you can, of course, if you would like to raise a question. Then please virtually lower your hand in case you no longer have questions or don't want to comment. And please mute yourself after you have commented or have raised the question. Thank you. And yes, if you have any questions, please.
Sandro,
Well, Sandro, raising hands. Can you explain how can participants raise hands in this virtual meeting?
Yes, so in order to raise a hand, you can go to the participants page, which is on the bottom of your screens. And at the bottom right corner, there is a button that is called raise hand. And when you press it, it virtually raises the hand. If you won't be able to do that for some reason, there is also reactions, and maybe you can use the reactions in order to let us know that you want to speak. But I think it's an easy process, and everyone should be able to complete it. Yeah. Thank you for the attention. Michael, I see you're raising the hand. Do you have something to comment or question?
Yes, I would like to ask Archel on this occasion. We are introducing here the Training and Development Center. Can you give the participants a little bit more insight in the nature of the support that we see coming from the different stakeholders? And by that, I mean, which type of programs you see available for our participants to be able to tap into. Thank you.
As far as I understood, this question is addressed to me. I need to tell you that interest towards the HTDC in terms of support is huge, and it's equally huge from the state and partner international organizations that are operating in Georgia for a long time. Respectively, HTDC will have all the leading programs that are promised and committed by our international partners that exist in greenhouse production development elsewhere. We're not inventing a wheel. These clusters exist in the West. They are very successfully progressing and developing. So we'll copy the best practices and introduce them to Georgia. Modern demo and training center, the modules, and that will be installed and implemented in Georgia. This may be keen and interested labor force, willing to acquire knowledge for guaranteed employment within the clusters or beyond. We may also have agronomic knowledge, and foreigners will be required to get involved in this, to train the professionals, agricultural professionals. We may teach business knowledge to the landowners to run their businesses properly. As colleagues have mentioned, nothing free is good. So this HTDC operation trainings, trainers, all of that, it has some costs involved. So we hope that HTDC will manage to be self-sufficient through its sales of training fees, but we will be financing the vulnerable individuals and groups, and we also hope that international organizations will be financing various directions of these training courses, and some training modules may be even free of charge for local residents. That's all I wanted to say on this question. If others want to join in, feel free. Let me greet you all, ladies and gentlemen. I joined late, but late is better than nothing. Let me introduce Gela Hanishvili, First Deputy Minister of Agriculture and Environmental Protection, Chairman of our board. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Well, let me greet you all. I won't take up much of your time. Sorry for being late. I had a conflicting meeting. I believe that the meeting was very interesting, and it's interesting for farmers, any interested individual who want to participate in the development of agriculture in the country. On the one hand, EAS is a big achievement and success, and nonetheless important is the HTDC that will be training farmers for EAS and the rest of the country. And this knowledge will be replicated and generalized throughout the country. I believe that this project will be very big support for the region. I hope that the youth will get involved and participate. That's for their interests to be catered. And this project meets all the international demands and the needs that we will be selling our products in our strategic partner countries. I hope that this huge work will not be in vain, and call for interest that has been announced is successful. I guess you already covered this topic, Archil. My expectations are tremendous, and more Georgian producers, more Georgian farmers, more Georgian youth to be involved in this project. Once again, thank you so much for this event. I thank the organizers, and I'll be listening keenly. There are many people expressing their interest, and thank you, sir. Thank you for this warm and supportive words. Sandro, if others want to ask questions or make remarks, we can let them have their say, or then we'll go to the chat.
Sure. Right now, no one is raising the hand, so maybe we can go to the chat questions. Georgi is raising the hand. Koga?
Let me just remark that we've received a couple of questions in the chat. So we are, Eberhard is taking the part and responding the way I understand to one of them at least. Would you like us to read out the questions and respond it, also, online, or you would like us to continue in, the chat and responding to the questions that we've received? That's my question. Thank you.
Goga, thank you very much for giving me a speaking role in this first industry briefing. Your Excellency, Archil, very happy to participate here. We have worked for a few months now on the EOI process, and I'm really pleased with the large number of 35 or so participants in today's meeting. And as you know, we have 3 more meetings lined up over the next couple of days. There was one question in the chat from Francesco Tampieri, and I hope I pronounced that correctly, Francesco. You are an agri input supplier, and in that capacity, you do not wish to buy a plot. That is perfectly reasonable. I would like to say in response to that question to everybody that if certain of the return schedules do not apply to you, then simply mark them accordingly, for example, stating that you're not interested in purchasing a plot. However, as Archel has explained, the EAS greenhouse cluster development is fully aligned with the policy objectives of the government of Georgia and the Ministry of Environmental Protection and Agriculture. So in terms of an evaluation of who will ultimately join the EAS when we come to the tender process in autumn of this year will also depend, as Archel explained, to an extent of 60% in respect of meeting the Georgian government's policy objectives. And that would be my response to you, Francesco. Obviously, you want to sell us something, but please tell us which additional value in terms of educating, qualifying, giving training courses, etc., you would be able to contribute to the EAS on top of, let me say, just selling your product to the EAS greenhouse cluster development. I hope that answers the question.
If I may add, maybe would you be interested to supply some trees to plant part of the training center?
Very well, Francesco. Thank you very much for your comment. And obviously, as Arthur said, please reach out to us for any additional questions, and we'll be happy to answer them. For those questions put forward to us that are of interest, general interest to all participants, we also publish them from time to time on our FAQ section on the EAS EOI expression of interest website. Now there's a second question, and that is from Batuhan Alkan from Turkey. Thank you very much for your positive words, Batuhan. Very happy to hear that you enjoyed the presentation. You are sending us your company address, and obviously we will be archiving the chat, so we have your address on record. But please keep in mind that we have a formal process, and if you would like to participate in the EAS, then please fill in the forms, send them to us, and we'll be happy to put you on record and also update you from time to time on our further progress. Thank you very much. And I hand back to Sandro. I see that Ekaterina is raising her hand. So Sandro, would you moderate the questions, please, again? Thank you.
Sure. Ekaterina, please, you can speak and yeah.
You're on mute.
Let me greet you all. The First Deputy Minister, I greet you, as well as other the participants, ladies and gentlemen. I want to express how wonderful this project is. I believe that it's so wide scale and so comprehensive that not only Emirati, but the entire country may well be covered with this project initiative. All the farmers will be keen to get involved. I represent the environmental, the information center of the Ministry of Environmental Protection and Agriculture of Georgia. We are mandated to support farmers in the country through public awareness. I want to mention that within our mandate, we will be cooperating with EAS, of course. Thank you. Thank you so much, Catherine, for this support. This tremendous work and commitment needs to be delivered by all of us. I want to say that the principle of this project is transparency and engagement. And thank you for your commitment. Without this, we cannot progress. Thank you. Thank you. Jill, if there are no comments or no more questions,
Yeah, actually, I still have one question.
I want to touch upon the call for interest. Let me comment on that. Of course, sir, go ahead. Well, this particular project and money spent on it, efforts mobilized for it by establishing this steering committee by the government, all these efforts that are so diverse and multiple, all that evidence is that the government has a very the solid intention to see it to fruition. And the second aspect I want to mention here is that from farmers, from participants of this initiative, we need to explicitly say who we have in mind. But I want to say that any farmer of any size, any location, local or international, that is keen to contribute with the knowledge, funding, etc., for the acquisition of a greenhouse of any size and location. And that's another confirmation of our openness. The motto that we have, transparency and engagement, for every stage to flow within public domain and by adhering to this principle. This is one of the key aspects of our operation. We don't want any doubt to be shed on this project. No question should be left without an answer. No sector should be left without participation or engagement in the discussion, in the initiative, in the training or demonstration. No one will be left out. And as for the most pressing issue of land, we also have thought about it and wish to say that within our structure, within the government strategy, as we're dealing with a huge investment, we have wider opportunities to consider each investor individually and to give the right authority to that particular investor to deliver different interests. I won't go into details, but the government intention is to attract investors and make this project interesting and attractive to them. A lot of details may need to be taken into account, but that will be taken into consideration at the right stage. No obstacles, no bottlenecks will exist on the way to investors in the implementation of this project. And this is the attitude of the government to deliver this project. One more detail, irrespective of its size and complexity and comprehensiveness, this is a pilot project for the government who thinks that this project may successfully be replicated from Imereti to other regions of the country. At the same time, similar projects of similar quality, size and degree may well be done in different aspects, in different directions, in different regions. If this is greenhouses in focus, it may be a different focus in another region. And that may also include a large, very important logistics centers to be established and built with the government initiative, but engagement of the private sector, so that the agriculture produce that we have in the country, which will need to grow in terms of quality and the volume, to be catered by the modern, fully adapted European and US standard technologies and market demand that we wish to target. This project will naturally supply to the domestic consumers, but major focus will be export. So any farmer, any investor who is listening now or who will be listening in future, they need to understand that the government's intention is tremendous, long-lasting, and we'll do our best to make this project success, a huge success. Thank you, sir, enormously for everything that you've been doing for the project. We have been benefiting of your great support, and we will be further developing this topic through the Q&A.
Yes, thank you very much for your comments. I just wanted to say that maybe right now we can go on and all of you can just unmute and just start talking if you have any questions, because maybe raising the hand is a little bit too much of a hassle. So, yeah.
Yeah, I had two questions. One to Francesco, whether his company would be interested to plant or donate fruit and trees or bushes for the training and demo center. And the same actually for Cina Sera, the greenhouse company from Turkey, whether they would be interested to join in the training center to demonstrate their greenhouses and their technologies. Are the two companies still online, Sandro, or they have left?
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to plant bushes and plant fruit trees inside the training and demo center, as well as, you know, practicing research. We are always updating our new varieties with within institutions, universities, and looking to enhance our product portfolio in order to get update with market circumstances. So we do have a micropropagation laboratory throughout we produce, and we do have a R&D department inside our company. So yeah, we somehow be interested to plant and to make you know, new partnerships within this training and demo center in this way.
And your main concern is, of course, that Georgia is not a subscriber yet to UPOF, so you are mainly concerned about the property rights of the varieties.
Can you say that again?
Are you concerned about the property rights of your varieties? Because I think that Georgia is or is not yet included in the UPOF, the Organization for Protection of Varieties.
So yeah, we do have some protected varieties and some other not, because we are we do have many kind of different varieties. So yeah, it depends on which is the project and which on what products we are talking about. And of course we are you know, we are propagating new varieties for private enterprises as well as public ones. So we are open to discuss you know, almost everything. It's inside micropropagation and propagation laboratories that can get a hand to this project.
Okay, thank you for your answer. The representative of Cina Sera, could you answer my question also, whether you will be interested to demonstrate your greenhouse technology or greenhouses in the demo center?
Hmm. There is one question in the chat I can read out if you're not waiting for an answer, Marius.
That's all right, just continue.
Okay, there is this question which is in Georgian, so maybe someone who is, because I'm on the English channel, so someone who is in Georgian channel, maybe you can read it out, or I can just translate it. It's okay. So they're asking about the demonstration greenhouse parameters. They want to know the how long it will be and the volumes basically. The question is from LTD Agro Elta. And they are also interested in the timelines. Maybe Marius, Carl?
I think Carl, the technical part of the greenhouses is with Carl. I'm more on the economical side, so I leave it up to Carl.
Okay.
Thank you, Marius. Well, up to the sizes of the plots, it will be very flexible. The plots can vary, let's say, from 3,000 square meters up to 10 or 20 hectares. It depends on all what are you requiring and what you want to do over there. So no limits to plot sizes.
Yeah, and I think they were also interested in the timeline, like maybe in which stage it will be relevant to maybe make a bid for the greenhouse.
If you want to develop a greenhouse, it can go very quickly. And I think if you want to go realizing for a project, it can be realized from September onwards already in this year. We have the plots available, we have the land available. And if you are really interested to do it, it will not be a problem to put all the energy lines in place. It can be realized in a very short-term period. So please express your interest, express your timeline, and we will make it happen.
Carl, sorry, they just made, thank you for your answer, but they texted us that they are talking about the demonstration greenhouse. So in the HTDC basically, because they are input suppliers or greenhouse builders basically. So they want to know if they can, for example, present their technology in the HTDC, and that's what the question was about.
Okay. Of course, it can happen, and the HTDC will be realized from August onwards, and we will be happy to show all their products, what they have over there.
You're talking about size. There was a question was about size, I think, Sandro.
Size too, yes.
You should not think too big. I mean, if you're talking about tunnels, it could be one tunnel. If you're talking about, let's say, connected tunnels, it can be a 2 or 3 span. So not too big. If it's demonstrating, let's say, heating equipment or something like that, or irrigation equipment or simple irrigation computers, it can be all rather small scale. You should not forget that at this moment, around the proposed IAZ, there is 900 farmers, 900 farm holdings that are on the rather, let's say, low-tech level, and with very simple technological advance could make already a big step. And if you can demonstrate this low-tech and medium-tech solutions in the center, yes, we're not talking about hectares, we're talking maybe 500 square meters of a tunnel or 300 square meters of a tunnel. So we're not talking big, large amounts, and we're not talking big amounts of investment that are requested from those who want to either donate equipment or have the equipment borrowed for a certain time, so that farmers in the surroundings can get acquainted with it and know how to use it and get profit out of it. I hope this answers your question.
Thank you, Marius.
I've raised, in fact, my hand. Can I just add on to Carl's and Marius's comments, please, Sandro?
Please.
I understand the questions and they come from the aggregate input supplier companies. I would just like to add on the following. We are in fact waiting for your thinkings and your proposals in that sense, what you would like to demonstrate, what you would like to set up in the demonstration center with the intention to sell your products to the cluster members already existent and to future cluster beneficiaries. So it's about the products that you want to sell, assortment that you want to present, and the strategy, how you see your selling strategy at ES. Thank you.
Thank you, Goga.
There was one more question that I see in Georgian reflecting to the timeframes for the potential beneficiaries. As Carl has already mentioned, people who would like to start developing the greenhouses, we have the sector briefing tomorrow for them, where we will detailed explain the timeframes as well, but they can even start immediately applying for it and considering what they want to do, because EAS in fact is ready to deliver the energy supply to them, to deliver our infrastructure facilities and support them in developing their greenhouses. But again, it's not only about the 93 land plots that are located within the EAS 220 hectare territory. The HTDC is a pilot project because it is also considered for already existent up to 2,000 farmers that have up to 5,000 greenhouses allocated in the 6 villages that is surrounding EAS land plot within the 35 kilometers range. Thank you.
Goga, you were talking about this, basically this part, right?
Absolutely, and the villages that you have, like A, B, C, D, these are the villages where you have the main agricultural produce. More than 70% of herbs that are produced in Georgia, and main part of the vegetable produce. So it's all there, especially for the greenhouse producers. It looks interesting. It could look interesting because these greenhouses are really low tech. They're really, really low, and all of them need to update their technologies. What they need to know is to be aware what is supplied on the market, to have somebody guided on their technologies and introducing different possibilities. By the way, EAS is also discussing the possibilities with different IFIs and local banks to allow the greenhouse owners to take the leasing possibilities in order to purchase these technologies. All of these greenhouse owners have natural gas supplies directly, given to their backyards, but they cannot use the natural gas and heat the greenhouses because they don't have the sufficient technologies, at least the ones that could stand up the energy efficiency at the minimum level. So what it should be really interesting, especially for the greenhouse producers, also to other agri-input providers, to establish themselves at HTDC and create a possibility for all these existing farmers to obtain their technologies and use the...
A posto.
Sorry, I think
Vai tranquilo.
someone...
Va bene, va bene. Ah, gli stesso.
Ivo, can you please mute? Yeah. Okay, so I hope this answered your question, and thank you for your answer, Goga.
Sandro, თუ მეტი კითხვები არ გვაქვს? მე მგონი ჩვენ
Well, Sandra, if there are no more questions, we can call it a day. If there are additional questions after this virtual meeting, if participants generate this question afterwards, they can always email these questions to us, to the address indicated on our website. We will be answering individually, and all these questions and answers will be posted on our website. Of course, this does not apply to several the individual beneficiaries, so specific ones that could be identified. But I want to urge everyone that window for opportunity for the interest to be expressed is April 30th. But until 16th of April, they can still raise questions and send us questions, and we'll be answering them all.
Thank you, Archil. Yes, so if there are no more questions, I think, yeah, we can say goodbye.
There was a question of the company representing
I want to thank everyone participating in this meeting today. Once again, let me repeat what our moderator has mentioned. We have recorded, with your permission, this meeting. It will be posted on our website, and every interested individual will gain access to it. I want to express gratitude to all participants, as well as Georgi Hanishvili, First Deputy Minister of Environmental Protection and Agriculture of Georgia, demonstrating support of the government of Georgia. And this is a manifest that we have encouragement from there. And I thank experts that have been speaking during this meeting and helping in the organization and for the information presented. Thank you all. Thank you and goodbye. Thank you and goodbye. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you very much for your interest and keep in touch. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.